listening to the AFTERBUZZ TV network. Now, the largest new media platform on the web and your #1 source for after-show entertainment.
Very good, Keith Johnson.
From the AFTERBUZZ Studios in Los Angeles, California, presented by Maria Menounos and Bing.com, and streaming live thanks to Akamai Technologies, this is AFTERBUZZ TV's Archer After Show. We'll break down tonight's episode and get you all the latest news and gossip. If you'd like to buzz in on tonight's show, you can buzz us at 424-256-1729. That's 424-256-1729. And now, another post-game wrap-up show for your favorite TV show. It's AFTERBUZZ TV's Archer After Show.
Hey there, Archer watchers. Bing is for doing, and we are doing AFTERBUZZ TV. We're checking out Archer, Season 4, Episode 4, titled Midnight Ron, alluding to a famous movie, but instead replacing it with a name of one of the characters in the show. Good God, it's brilliant. I'm Greg Goodness.
Hey guys, I'm Dave Klein.
And I'm Scott Moore.
Those of you who are regular listeners might notice that John Barrett noticeably absent tonight. We will miss him.
Yes,
he is doing real working man stuff.
He's on assignment, and we're going to be accepting the award for the best show on his behalf today.
Yes, obviously. Of course it's going to be a good show.
It's going to be a really good show because of that. No.
Exactly, because of that. So let's jump right on into it. We hear a lot about Ron in this episode. A lot more than we've ever heard before.
Just a little bit for Midnight Ron. But
fitting for the episode title.
But let's point out for people who haven't seen Midnight Run, which, I mean, I guess given the demographic of the show, you might not have, as it's an older movie. Or I think it's probably an 80s movie, I think. Maybe early 90s. But it's essentially a buddy-buddy comedy about I think it's Robert De Niro, and he's a bounty hunter going after someone who needs to bring him back alive. And some other people are going after him to try and kill him. But it ends up being that they end up bonding along the way. It's all buddy-buddy, and, you know, just kind of like this episode a little bit.
Absolutely.
So a proper illusion.
Yes.
I'm assuming we get to learn a little bit more about them along the way, as we do with Ron, which is interesting because this entire season, we see him all the way back in episode 1, where it's like, oh, well, Mallory is now married to Ron.
And like, who is Ron?
Yeah.
Who is this guy that just showed out of nowhere?
Accept this, viewers, and everyone's okay. Yeah, all right, Ron. Yeah, he's in the picture now.
Well, he's probably the most boring person in the United States.
The entire planet.
In the entire planet.
Certainly in the ISIS office, we're led to believe that he's the most boring person, and that's behind Cyril, who, you know, at least he's a sex addict. Ron was just a very successful Cadillac dealer. But now we find out that, no, he's got
there's so much more. He has a secret.
It's not micromanaging, it's macro-managing in his case. All right.
And I love that about this episode is that they finally acknowledge that Mallory has to be a little bit bored with Ron, that at least this persona that he's putting forward is not at all in keeping with what you would expect Mallory to go after. And yet she's still drawn to him, and then we see that that isn't the whole truth. Ron has some more devious stuff going on under the surface. Namely, that he ran a chop shop in World War II? Is that what we're... I'm assuming it was World War II. Generally, when someone says the war and the war effort, I'm not like, oh, Vietnam. It's the war, World War II.
I mean, it seemed very gangster-esque.
They did. They like, did put it in a time period there that made me feel that it was.
Like, yeah, during like periods of typical classic gangsters, definitely the way they looked.
But I mean, even the way they do the show, you're led to believe that it's not quite. I mean, they have a mix of present day, but also you got to throw back to the '60s and communism and the KGB and, you know, Cuban assassins and things like that aren't really what's happening today. So I love that they have a blend, and that's sort of how they did it too with this background with Ron as well.
I totally forgot about that. That Archer lives in this weird
Yes.
sort of universe
Yes.
where it's the 60s, yet
But
also
present day at the same time.
also
It's
like
just
the late 80s
Yes.
in terms of computers.
Oh yeah, the one that was
Yep.
on Mallory's desk.
Yeah.
It was like the oldest phone computer
Yeah.
thing that she was using. It was
It's
amazing.
Such a great blend. I love that.
But yeah, you're right. We get to take the funnest part of that
Mm-hmm.
era, which is the perceived, bootlegging, moonshine,
Mm-hmm.
and gangsters with Tommy guns sort of thing.
See, it's also funny that I think in that episode they also had cell phones too, or someone had a cell phone, if I remember correctly. But for somehow Mallory's desk, that is the phone she's using.
Yeah, exactly. And Mallory still doesn't know what call waiting is, what a line 2 is. So I don't know if that's, a new technology that they just introduced. But Ron, anyways, is part of a seedy criminal underbelly where he's not a bad guy per se. He's not some sort of straight up murderer.
Yeah.
He's the safest sort of criminal that you can be.
And I like the way he had said it too. He's like, before I sold cars, I stole cars.
Right.
That was great.
And a logical transition, especially for a car salesman.
Yeah.
It's like, listen, you're going to steal them, and then you're
Yeah,
going to do something equally devious.
And now,
with
exactly,
them.
now you're going to rip people off by selling them overpriced cars. Yeah.
We're not dissing on car dealers.
Not
it's all in
everybody.
good fun.
No, of
if anyone
course.
wants to sell me a car later, because mine is horrible.
And the
Same here.
The big news is his last name. It's not Ron Cadillac. What?
I know. That was great.
Who would have thought?
Mm-hmm.
His last name actually Kaczynski.
Kaczynski, I think. Yeah.
My chicken scratch
I know,
handwriting. I can't even.
I don't
tell.
even know how it would be spelled. I don't know either.
It's But yeah, so he was kind of a rebel back in the day,
Yeah.
and now that all of his friends, including Fat Mike,
Oh,
which,
Fat Mike.
Yes.
by the way, I have to call it out now. It should be in stray observation, but I'm calling it now. Fat Mike, pretty sure reference to Frisky Dingo. There's a Mike and a Fat Mike, and Fat Mike gets assassinated early on in I think the pilot episode, and now he's making a reappearance, only without Exticle's suit.
And you're sure it's not just a name coincidence?
Yeah, I was gonna say.
Fat
It seems
Mike
like there's a
is
Fat
pretty-
Mike and everything, but then again, that's a good observation because I wouldn't have even picked up on that.
I'm throwing it out there. The internet can be the judge. You guys can run the side comparison clips and all that, but that's my 2 cents on it. Anyways,
Archer did make a big deal of Fat Mike before it turned out Fat Mike was even a big deal. Like when the police got the whole crew, Archer for some reason interjects, even Fat Mike?
because you're instantly enamored with Fat Mike.
Well, it's
You're like,
because he's the guy who actually has a nickname. No one else, I think, has a nickname except for Fat Mike.
And so just simply stated nickname too. Just that's what he is. He's
Yeah.
Fat Mike. It was in a simpler time then. It wasn't you could call someone Fat Mike and it was fine.
You just
it's
call,
okay.
you just call someone by their physical appearance, and that would be their nickname.
But now Ron is doing the good thing. He's doing the decent thing, I guess. Decent thing as far as criminal underworlds go, which is that if they don't rat you out, then you got to pay him off for the rest of eternity, which explains why he's been running around with this suitcase full of money, which I was really confused about at
Why
the
he's
beginning.
driving
of
around
it.
everywhere and
I was like, why is Ron not where he says he's supposed to be?
Yeah.
He's the most boring man in
Yeah.
the world.
Right, that was pretty great. They just randomly ends up where Archer is.
Right.
Somehow.
It just swings by.
and that he was in Schenectady, New York, of all places too. Which I have to say, for anyone to know, this is some good cocktail chatter. The zip code is 12345.
Oh, really?
There we go.
How do
I
you
love
know
Schenectady,
that?
New York. I don't know how I know
Represents.
that. But I mean, it's such a random place where he ends up there, and he's in the hotel room, and you see him going kind of crazy. That was kind of funny too. You know, he's been drinking, and
Epic Ron
Yeah.
Cadillac and throws down is a beautiful moment. I feel like a GIF should be made of that.
Yes,
Just the
I
clish,
agree.
clish, clish. But so Ron, not the boring guy that we thought he was, but now we know that there's a dual life that he's leading, one that he needs to hide from Mallory,
yes.
which is kind of interesting. Adds a little layer to his
does.
character.
Yes, absolutely.
I don't think he's going to be able to pull it off. I think that sooner or later, he's working at a spy agency. The truth, well, he's not working, but Mallory's working. The truth is going to come out.
Well, it'll probably end up coming out of Archer's mouth at some point somehow.
We did see him and Mallory having that little drunken bonding session. I'm willing to bet a lot more of those are going to take place.
Yeah.
So if it's going to come out, it's probably going to
Yes.
come out there.
Which also relates to our news and gossip we'll talk about later, too. I would
That's
believe.
right.
Ooh, nice tease there.
Yeah,
Exactly.
we do have a pretty special news and gossip section coming up. Have you ever wanted to take a horse-drawn carriage ride with Ace Jon Benjamin? Anyone?
I mean, who wouldn't?
Well,
As long as it's 30 minutes long.
this is you're gonna find out why you wouldn't want to take a horse-drawn carriage ride with Jon Benjamin. But whether you would like one, whether you would not like one, these are important things to know your opinion. Things, and that's what we want to know. We want to know your opinion. So there's this thing called iTunes, guys. And John was cueing me on he's been trying to drill it into my head pretty much all these past weeks. I still don't really understand what it is. It's apparently you hook it up to your computer or something. I don't know. The point is, if you like listening to us, if you like listening to other AfterBuzz TV shows,
Which of course you do.
you
want
want
hook up your old-timey phones to it.
yes,
Okay.
your
Yes.
rotary
Your
phones.
rotary phones to your record player, and
Right.
and you
Hook up your 1980s era computer to your 1960s style gangsters.
Yes.
Or 1940s style,
1940.
1920s. I don't know. I have a poor grasp of American history. The point is, if you like the show, go on iTunes, rate the show, leave a comment, say whether you like us, whether you don't. We don't care. We just want to know what you're thinking, and we might give you a shout out. If you're good to us, we'll be good to you.
And guys,
Real good to
also
you.
definitely check us out on YouTube as well. And if you have a comment, we'll read it out too and give you a shout out. Or check us out on the live chat. That's 9:30 p.m. on the West Coast, 12:30 a.m. on the East Coast, and we will check in with you guys. We have a live chat going, so if you guys have any questions or thoughts, we'll read it out and come interact with us. Come hang out
yes.
Right on.
in the flesh of the computer screen. It's a really weird computer, but it has flesh on
Yes.
it.
And dancing pirates.
What have you been
flesh.
doing to your computer? And what else is going on in your house? I don't know. But that's okay. We won't judge. Not here. Not at Archer.
It's a judgment-free zone.
It is.
We're all very relaxed here.
We're all alcoholics and sex addicts and kill people regularly. And
Right.
Yeah,
We
absolutely.
live. Listen, you think Archer is bad? My God, get us in a room.
right.
These guys.
Living on the edge here.
Speaking of bonding, speaking of hanging out, having a few drinks, having a good time. Now that we know who Ron is, what he's all about, his devious past, horrible, horrible secrets he's been keeping from the world, Archer gets to share in that a little bit. And up until this point, Archer has absolutely hated Ron Cadillac. I don't think there was any secret to that.
No.
Didn't much care for the man. But now they're forced to hang out together. They are literally without any other resources.
Without a way of escaping. either.
Exactly.
They need each other here.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah. It's all them.
And of course, we start off the episode where it's still they just hate each other. That Archer would rather be seen with a chud than with Ron. Which, by the way, bravo, Adam Reed, to mentioning chuds. Just anytime you can work in that reference, my heart beats still. Bad horror movie about people in the underground sewers of New York City rising up and slaying people. But as the episode progresses, a little something starts to develop. What do you think's going on there?
well, I want to throw out one quick thing. I don't know if I haven't noticed it before. Maybe this is just me, but was this the first time they've used 3D? And for all the car shots were 3D in this episode. I don't know if I've really noticed that.
They've started incorporating 3D a lot more into this season. This is the most pronounced I've ever seen it, and it looked pretty great, if I
Yeah.
do say so myself.
It did.
Because, yeah, it was definitely still the normal characters inside the 3D car, but it was something new, and I haven't seen that animation for this show yet. So I guess the budget's picking up a little bit is what that says to me. But the other thing I want to say is that, you know, every buddy-buddy movie has the bonding moments. And, of course, why wouldn't it be transvestites filming a snuff film for Archer?
Right.
That's, of course, that's what the bonding moment is going to be for Archer.
A snuff film with a great craft service table.
Yeah.
That was
by
my
the way.
favorite part.
That was mine too. In the corner, a couple cups and.
It was really well stocked. Like, whoever was in charge of that snuff film craft service was, listen, whatever they paid him, probably not enough, because that looked tasty.
I mean, I feel like that's a funny joke, but I feel like to us, maybe because we work in the industry,
Yes.
that's such a funny joke
It
to me,
was
just because I really get it. I'm just like, that's awesome. awesome.
For those of you who are unaware, craft services refers to when you're on a film set, there's usually a table of, on lower budget film sets, horrible, disgusting food.
Usually a lot of chips and cookies and things like that.
Red
on low
vines
budget.
and
red
sodas
vines.
and
you can go over there, and when you're hungry, you can fill your fat
can just
belly.
graze.
You can gorge yourself.
Now, when you have a bigger budget, it goes up to bagels. It upgrades to bagels.
So, point being, they had a pretty sweet-looking craft service table on that snuff film. That is a good point, though, that really that's a pretty common bonding method, I guess, right? Is when both of your lives are threatened, you're going to have to get together one way or another.
And you're obviously going to bond after that experience. Making that alive.
And I love also Ron's moment of blowing it with the gun, too.
Oh,
Which is
yeah,
just great.
yeah.
It's a great moment, and I mean, just
out
of course,
bullets? No, that was that was a really classic moment. And again, shows that Ron isn't necessarily from Archer's world. I did think that there was sort of a, if I dare say it, actual father-son moment shared there. Not necessarily when he's pointing the gun at him and forgets all that, but that was definitely going on.
But
right?
when you have them chasing him and the hooker heels are stuck in the mud, and you get that great shot of them still coming at them with the heels stuck in the mud, that's good bonding times.
Yes.
Right. Do you think that it's Archer is just being buddy-buddy with Ron, or do you think that this is literally more of a surrogate father situation?
I took it as being able to be appreciative of being the surrogate father kind of thing. Like, now he's able to accept him for who he is and able to accept him for being, Mallory's husband. I mean, I knew he wasn't comfortable saying it. There was one line at close to the middle where he was calling him stepdad, and Archer couldn't actually say that. He just said, my mom's husband.
Right.
So, I mean, that was interesting that he did say that, but I felt like as they moved through the episode, I think he was finally able to accept him a little bit more there.
And you also see he got gained a lot of respect for him as he was telling him his past history of stealing cars, and of course Archer's all about that. He's like, "Oh, you're not as boring as my mother told me you are."
Right.
And I think that also in the train too, there was well, you just see that they are bonding, and and the scene in the end, that's the real scene, is they're
when
kind
he's
of
dropping her off for the opera.
Well,
dropping him
afterwards,
off for
the way that Ron is in the opera, Archer's then doing the same thing to himself immediately afterwards.
Oh yeah,
to the
picking up,
music.
sharing each other's mannerisms.
Right, and they're doing that little like do thing, and it's the same music playing in the background that they're enjoying. So you kind of see they do have something in common.
Right,
Yeah,
and I think that
brilliant.
was a big part of the episode, was just finding common ground for these guys who appear to, at least initially, have nothing to do with one another, but finally see, like, okay, well, Ron has sort of a badass history, as it were, and they both enjoy drinking a little bit. They don't mind it.
Yes, which I loved in the very beginning too, when when Archer got into Ron's car and he's got the whole bar thing set up in the glove compartment.
Yeah,
that was so great.
A callback to last season where they had the what I just refer to as the car episode, and that's what Archer had set up in his car.
Yeah, which I thought that was great that they put that in there in Ron's car as well.
Right.
That was awesome.
Apple juice only.
Yeah, of course.
That's very specific. And then apple juice gets on the floor. It's all sticky. It's a disaster.
It's a mess.
Also, I thought it was weird that they bonded over a mutual desire to spite Mallory at the end, where it's, oh, you know it would drive her insane if we just showed up together all buddy-buddy. Then they peel out together. It's like, that can't bode well for the relationship.
Yeah, I do not see this relationship lasting now that Archer actually likes him. I think that's why it's going to end. Which I guess would go to predictions, but that's an early prediction.
No, I mean, that's a valid
early prediction.
It is.
That's a valid point. I mean, how can Mallory love someone who actually gets along with Archer? It's a conundrum, is what it is. So I think that while we're talking about Mallory and her relationship with Isis, I think it's interesting to note this was an episode that we saw Archer. We've seen him in space, We've seen him
Very James
with
Bond there.
with all sorts
Very
of
Leprechaun 4.
And that too.
that too. We've seen him in airboats. We've seen him with all sorts of weird, crazy, armed to the teeth equipment. In this episode, Archer has nothing.
Yeah.
He literally has a gun with no bullets, and that's it.
Well, I was going to say also, speaking of that buddy-buddy theme, you kind of had a lot of shades there from Planes, Trains, and Automobiles.
Yeah.
Another really famous buddy-buddy movie from the late 80s with John Candy and Steve Martin. So that was really cool to kind of see how they put that in there, you know, where they're riding on the back of the truck.
Right.
Just like John Candy and Steve Martin, and they're on a train like they were, and they're in a car together, and they're trying to escape and get Steve Martin's character back in time for Thanksgiving. So there was a lot of similarities there on that theme on this episode as well.
Correct me if I'm wrong, because at a point in that movie, they both have nothing to their names as well. They're just basically trying to...
Exactly. They have nothing, and they're just trying to get home because their wallets have been stolen, and they've just gone through one issue after another. And that was a lot of the same things that were going on in this episode as well. So that was kind of cool to be able to see that thread going on as well.
Now that you're talking about planes and trains, I do have a train question.
Okay.
Why is it that every protagonist can catch the train, but antagonists never seem to be able to catch a train in every movie? It's just something. I mean, okay, maybe in this is because they were all wearing heels.
Yeah, honey, it's hard to catch a train in heels.
Yeah,
okay.
going through the mud there.
But I mean, regardless, it's just a stray observation I have. Like, I feel like that always happens in most things.
And then everybody always jumps off the train too, and it's going 60 miles an hour, and they're fine.
Or they're pushed off of the train.
Yes, in this case, which was great too.
But Archer knows the parachute jump, so that saved him.
Did you see that?
I didn't actually see the parachute jump play out. I don't think anyone did, but it was good.
I just love when Archer says to Ron, "Oh, just look out at the distance. Don't look at the telephone poles. It's just gonna
gives you a false perspective
and
of
shove." Pushed him right off. That was great.
By the way, Ron, easily 60 years old.
At least.
Run like you're not an old man.
Getting shoved out of a moving train without teaching him the proper tuck and roll procedures.
Exactly.
Probably not the best idea. So good on Ron. Tough old guy.
He was all right.
Yeah, everyone else broke their legs from jumping off, apparently.
Yeah, the two sturdy homeless guys break their legs. But Ron is able to just kind of walk it off.
So, being that you're talking about Archer Sans equipment, or I remember predicting last week that I thought we were going to start seeing episodes like that because of how hard it was to get things out of the equipment room.
We were right.
Yes.
My God, we were finally right.
Wait. Well, it was right to a asterisk. There's an asterisk next to it, which I said it would be
there
because...
a footnote there?
Yes, a little footnote. Flip to the end of the book so you can read the comment, which is I had mentioned that it would be because he couldn't get it from the armory. Turns out he basically just screwed himself over this episode. So, okay, all right, kind of right, but kind of not right.
Do we know how he got to Canada to begin with, really? Because he said he had no passport, so I was...
Oh, you didn't catch...
No, I didn't catch that one part, or how he got there with the passport.
Well, he got there with a passport, presumably just to binge drink and gamble. Yeah. But then he burns his passport at the craps table because he's, quote, never coming back to America.
That's right.
To impress a lady. So that explains that. I don't know why. I didn't know that Canada was world famous for its casinos, but...
Well, Niagara Falls, I guess you can go over in the casino side there and play.
Oh, okay.
So there you go.
You know these things.
I just know it's legal to drink when you're 18 in Canada.
Yes.
I know that part.
I don't think Archer has that problem.
No.
But I'm sure he'd love to hang out with a bunch of 18-year-olds and drink and party.
That episode's coming up.
Ladies. Yes. Am I right? I like this episode, too, the fact that he's totally isolated from both his equipment and everyone else at ISIS, because it's an episode that after an episode where Archer launches a rocket grenade in a closed room, it's good to see an episode where they reestablish Archer is actually a really good agent and can get stuff done when he has to. He can rely on his wits and such.
He is proud of his job. He's proud of his work, as he mentions. But, I mean, another thing that we should probably talk about, too, is just that it was an episode where we got everyone else talking about him behind his back and how Lana's just kind of starting out like, what has he ever done for any of us ever?
Right.
Because nobody will give him the passport. Everybody's like laughs it off at him and
or
is
some
angry.
excuse or has something where they're not.
Even his servant, whose name I'm blanking
Woodhouse.
on. Woodhouse.
Yes.
Even Woodhouse won't. For some reason, Woodhouse won't do it. I don't know why, but
He made him eat a bowl full of spider webs, man.
Right. So I mean, but nobody will do it.
Hoping he wasn't going to come back.
I mean, well, I guess like Archer did do something for Cheryl. He gave her chlamydia.
Chlamydia,
but
which is a word that needs to enter into the U.S. lexicon now.
But I just thought, it's important to throw out that it's an episode where, again, it's kind of evolving to nobody likes him, and they really are talking about him. They're not helping him.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Him being isolated, again, from ISIS, not just the equipment, but the people, gives them an opportunity to talk about what a jerk Archer is, and more fully, because they'll say to his face, like, Archer, you're a jerk, you're incompetent, but now they really get to dive in all the ways that they've been wrong.
But also, again, it brought it back to being able to be an episode with him bonding with Ron, because they were really not in this episode at all, besides that brief moment of not helping him out. They were not even involved.
Right.
The whole rest of it was him getting to work with Ron, so it was a great setup for us to learn more about Ron, so I thought that was a really good way to do that, too.
And heading to observation you might have caught on the highway sign, cocksackle.
Yes, I had it written down here. That was so great.
Yeah, not sure that's a
We're
real
throwing
place,
out there.
maybe, but...
I hope to dear God it's a real
That'd be
place. I'm going
great.
to have to look it up. If you guys know that it's real, please let us know.
It's just like Zizix.
Yes.
Yeah, that's a real place. Yeah, that's true.
So hopefully it is real.
I hope.
Any other stray observations? We gotta get moving. We got some juicy news and gossip
Yeah.
to talk about.
Let's cut open that meat.
Yes, because I was going to say there were just lots of little things here and there, which I enjoy, like the absinthe being poured, like Pam pouring the absinthe into the milk carton.
Green Russians.
Also,
And-
as she said that, she said absolutely.
Yeah.
As she was pouring the absinthe.
That was great. I mean, there's always these little nuggets of great things in there that you really have to watch for, which are just brilliant.
I liked all the guys in line for the phone booth were all equally disheveled. There's no like person who has it together waiting for this phone booth. That was my big thing.
Yeah.
Speaking of big things, we do have a big thing coming up through AfterBuzz, actually. Great new movie being released. Maria Menounos heavily involved. All the good people here at AfterBuzz heavily involved. Serial Buddies. They're releasing a feature-length film comedy. Check out the trailer. That's all you have to do. Just go on YouTube, search Serial Buddies trailer. Again, just what do you think? I like it.
I mean, look,
I
we're
like it
talking
myself.
about buddy comedies. This is a buddy comedy about serial killers. There you go.
Yeah.
And
What more do you need to know?
Exactly. It doesn't get any better than that.
And let's also mention that we now have a brand new AfterBuzz TV store.
Yes, we do.
We can go to and check out some awesome swag
Some merch.
and some
Ethan, that we're
merch.
throwing out all the words there.
Get some sweet products in your face, man.
And when we have the AfterBuzz TV convention, we can give out some swag from the store.
right.
That's my. I've got goals.
Some promos, etc. Market lingo, market penetration.
Yes. We're going to penetrate, that's
Let's-
for sure.
We'll do some real hard penetration.
Speaking of penetration, let's penetrate that news and gossip.
AfterBuzz TV News.
We gotta stop talking about penetration. That's gonna get us in trouble. All right,
We're talking
so-
about Archer here.
That's true. Deeply, deeply penetrated. Her pie, which I hope is both warm and moist, but hopefully not flaky. Anyways,
Oh.
Zap to it. Good website, good people over
Yes.
there, good articles. They recently hooked Jon Benjamin for an interview. So we're going to go over a few of the highlights. I recommend you guys check it out. Again, Zap to it. Give credit where credit is due. My favorite part of this interview is they kind of go off track a little. We usually get a lot of, do you improv a lot in the booth? Do you see other cast members in the booth? How do people react when they find out you don't actually look like Archer? These are pretty standard questions, and they are asked in this interview. But they ask, what is the weirdest interaction you've ever had with an Archer fan? And I love it because his answer is, well, and he says it much more eloquently than I ever could, he once got into a horse-drawn carriage with two Archer fans who stopped and were like, oh my God, we love your show. He's just like, hey guys, you want to go in a horse-drawn carriage with me? That's my poor impersonation.
Are you Archer? Archer's in the booth, people. Archer's with us now.
It's uncanny.
It is. Whew.
But about 10 minutes into this ride, Jon Benjamin figured out this was like a 45-minute experience, to which these college kids were now like, yeah, you were really cool in Archer. We said that already. Great. Why are we here? And his only response was, I don't know. I thought it would be funny.
That actually is, the way you just said that would totally be exactly how he would say that. And your mannerisms too, just so you know. It's pretty spot on.
If I just closed my eyes, I would think it was him.
Did you guys obviously got a chance to check it out. Did you find any good takeaways from this article?
I guess I'll start with what I thought was a great takeaway. Which is that they asked him, do you think Archer is starting to mature a bit after 4 seasons? And he responded, and this is a quote, he's making really slow progress. At some point, I think he has to. I feel like his lifestyle is going to catch up to him. I feel like I want him to gain 15 pounds. He suddenly won't metabolize alcohol as well as he always does. So, of course, a little joke at the end, but it's pretty perfect for this episode because he actually kind of did mature a little bit in this episode.
That's true.
Yeah, and I like the fact that a lot of people don't think about how he does the voice on Bob's Burgers too, and that was something that was brought up too, which is always fascinating because it's such a different character, such a totally different guy, like on the other end of the spectrum from Archer. So it's pretty cool that he does both.
Yeah,
true professional.
The subtle nuances.
Yes.
But a lot of people complain that he doesn't do anything different for either, and F them, according to him. F them.
Yeah.
And according to me.
And according to all of us here.
Oh, man. Well, it's a good article. Again, check it out. Zap to it. Really funny interviews. Has a bunch of more funny stuff. You should check it out. That about does it for us here in the AfterBuzz TV studios. We had a lot of laughs. We cried a little. We laughed still again a little. And
Might have laughed a little hard enough that I peed my pants a little.
Too much information. Graphic. Anyways. Predictions.
Oh, yes,
let's get that spooky theremin music in there, and let's do it quick.
And now, your AfterBuzz TV predictions.
Ron's pass, gonna come back and haunt him. It's gonna come up, Mallory's gonna have to deal with it. I'm calling it right now.
What I said earlier, Mallory was going to break up with Ron due to Ron actually getting along with Archer.
And mine's just more on story structure. I think we're going to start focusing on each character kind of one-on-one. Little one-offs in each character to learn more about their backgrounds and everything as we started to do the season a little bit. With Pam or with Cheryl/Carol earlier, and now with Ron. So,
right on. That's a good one.
Yeah,
I like that. Anyways, if you liked us, you can find us on the Twitters. I'm at Generic Maverick.
I'm at the Dave Klein. That's Klein.
And I am at SMan80. That's SMAN80.
In absence of John Barrett, I'm going to go ahead and say we'll see you next week. Same bat time, same bat channel.
In absence of absinthe.
From Bing.com, executive producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire AfterBuzz TV staff, we would like to thank you for listening to the AfterBuzz TV network. To watch or listen to other after shows and post comments or questions, be sure to visit AfterBuzzTV.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of AfterBuzz TV.
Buzz you later.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.